Yeah. So there you have it, 25%. Professor Madhav Nalapat, let me bring you in to get this started. If only 25% of Ukrainians want the war, then why isn't Zelensky keen on ending the war?
Look, the fact of the matter is that all that President Trump is saying is what Prime Minister Modi has been saying from April 2022 onwards, which is it's time for peace, end the war now. Imagine what would have happened if the war had ended in April 2022. How many lives would have been saved? Ukrainian lives, Russian lives. How many lives in the global south could have been rescued from the difficulties, the circumstances, that the logistical difficulties and the sanctions brought by this Ukraine conflict, a purely European conflict, if I may add, have brought on the entire global south. I mean, India got the global south into the G20, is now actually the G21 with the Africa Union. Look, I want to say very clearly that the EU talks a lot about Ukraine and helping Ukraine. You know how much Germany has given to Ukraine? I mean, when I last checked, it was exactly 10 tanks. Do you know how much of the assistance that's given by Europe to Ukraine is actual assistance, and how much is a loan? Most of it is a loan. I mean, practically the only country there the assistance is much more than the loan has been the United States under President Biden. So I want to tell you, I mean, will the EU step in and fund what the United States was funding? I mean, at last count, it is about $200 billion and counting. I mean, no European country has funded that. I mean, not as aid, separately, as loans. And that's their problem now. A lot of UK banks are invested in Ukrainian bonds. A lot of, European Union banks are invested in Ukraine bonds. And if you stop the war, well, those bonds are left almost worthless. So frankly, there's a very strong financial motive. But the point is, there's an equal financial motive for the Americans to try and stop this war, for the simple reason that now, what I understand is that the request informally is that please give us one more year. I mean, we heard that in 2022. We heard that in 2023. We heard that in 2024. Putin is going to collapse. Russia is going to break up. Putin is going to collapse. Russia is going to break up. At least change the record. Don't keep playing the same record over and over again, year after year, of this horrible war. And as I think the Americans have pointed out, if it's a meat grinder, the Russians have a lot more meat than the Ukrainians. I mean, I don't believe that only 30% of Ukrainians want an end to the war now on whatever terms, because frankly, they know very well, they're realists. The only way the war is going to end is basically, for the best case, as a status quo, an armistice in which Ukraine promises never to join NATO and vice versa. It's not going to happen for less. And I mean, I just want to say, what fantasy land are these people living in? I mean, the EU wanted Ukraine and to essentially blow up the Russia-US talks. That's what the EU wanted. And Zelensky also wants the same thing. By the way, Zelensky wants NATO to intervene in Ukraine. He's been wanting that from 2022, as some of us in India pointed out, from almost the start of this war. And then it would be World War III.
Yeah.
This is not a joke. This is for real. I mean, Zelensky is talking about playing cards. Well, he's playing a very weak deck. And without American support, that entire deck will collapse because the Europeans don't have the financial muscle or, in fact, the manpower. Nobody in Europe is going to want to suffer casualties in the battlefield for Ukraine. You see the first casualties come in, and then you'll see what happens to European public opinion. So please, let's be real. We are from India. Our Prime Minister is real. We said end this war in April 2022. How many lives could have been lost? How many lives have been lost? How much property has been destroyed? How much of the world has suffered because of this war?
Yeah.
Obviously, nobody here wants the war to last for even a single hour more. And that's what Trump is asking for. And I think, frankly, he's doing that. I mean, for the United States, he's supposed to be a selfish man looking only at the US. Well, find out a leader who doesn't look out for himself or herself. I mean, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is not looking out for the global south. He's not looking out for the United States. He's looking out for his own interests because he knows he is toast in this kind of a settlement. So please, let's be real, let's be practical, and let's be on the side of peace the way India has been since this horrible war started in February 2022.